Welcome everybody to another Golf Clash tournament playthrough. This time it's the Origin Links 9-hole cup and we're playing the expert division. Remember, if you like the videos, to hit the like button and also subscribe to the channel. Thank you. Hole 1 is a par 3. We're going to play this about 25% downhill. We're going to land in this spot and bounce over the sand with a sniper. We're going to put about 2.9 bars of backspin on it, and we're playing at mid club. There is a rough bump, but you're going to need a power 0 or a power 1 ball to do that, so I'm just playing the sniper and bouncing over. Alright, so again, we're playing sniper, mid club, about 25% downhill, putting 2.8, 2.9 bars of backspin on this shot. And adjusting for the wind. And I had this lined up straight at the cup, and it's going to come in just a little bit to the right. That's why on my notes I did say offset about 1 cup to the left. So hit a perfect shot, and it comes in just a little bit to the right. So if we offset that for the wind just a little bit to the left, we should have a good shot. Hole 2 is a par 4, and we're going to land in this spot and then bounce over. So this time we are playing on the right side just because of the wind angle. It gives us a pretty close to straight downwind shot on the second. So we're playing with an Apocalypse and a Kingmaker. About 5.7 bars of topspin and left as much as possible. You don't want to go any more topspin than this. Because if you get too far, you can get into wedge range, and you don't want to do that. So, rather have a minimum short iron instead of a maximum length wedge shot. We're also going to do about a half a ball of curl to the left. So again, left as much as possible. You can see I went about 6 bars of topspin on this shot, and I'm going to be just a little bit further than I would like to be on this shot. So if we back that off to about 5.7 bars of topspin, we'll be in a little better position. Now half ball, that means the guide is about halfway through the center of the ball when we shoot that. So that's the half ball curl to the left. And this ball rolls out, again, just a little bit further than I would like for it to. So when we set up the second shot, you'll see the end-bringer comes up. But I'd rather have my short iron in minimum distance. So I'm going to have to back this, put a little bit more backspin on it than I'd like to. Usually go about 2.5. Here I'm going about 3 bars, and that's, again, absolute minimum distance. Not playing any elevation on this second shot. So horn it at minimum distance. And still can't quite adjust, so I'm going to underpower just a little bit on this shot. Hit it perfect, and it rolls right into the cup. So again, straight downwind if you play that on the right side. Hole number 3 is a par 5, and this time I'm playing with an Apocalypse and a Kingmaker, and it doesn't matter what level your Apocalypse is. I'm only using 4 bars of topspin. If you have an Apocalypse under level 5, you can put a little bit of extra power on it to get the exact same shot. So we're going to set this up left as much as possible, and I put the 4 topspin in red because I don't want any more than that, because I'm curling this ball around and it's going to be pretty close to this right hand side. So after I adjust, I am going to push up just a little bit, and I do want a full curl left, but no overpower on this shot. Second shot, we're going to be in long iron range, so just whatever your best long iron is, either a B52 level 7 or a Grizzly. And we're going to put about 1 bar of backspin, about 1.75 to the left. Try to find the little funnel, and when we set this up, we want our second bounce to land on the fringe. So watch the ball guide when you're setting up that second shot. All right, so when we set this up, and again, 4 bars of topspin. If you have just a little under 4, that's not going to hurt anything, because I'd rather be safe in the middle of that little fairway island as go all the way across to the rough. So again, left as much as possible. We're going to do a full curl left. So after we adjust, I am pushing this up so we have the maximum distance. Full curl, not going into any overpower. And hit a great left on this shot. It's not going to hurt anything. This landing spot is kind of bowl shaped, so if you get too far to the left on the landing spot, it will kick it to the right. And that one did kick a little further to the right than I like. All right, so with our second shot here, I'm using a Grizzly, and not even at full distance on the Grizzly. I'm playing this +5 for elevation. So I'm going to move this around and kind of play with it, but what I'm going to settle on is a little less than 2 to the left, about 1 on the backspin. You can see that second bounce, we do want that to land on the fringe. If you go forward, it looks like the ball guide's still there, but it doesn't quite follow the track if you land the second bounce on the green. And this one's still just a little bit off. I don't think I adjusted the +5% for the elevation on this shot. And hit great right. And this ball comes in just a little bit to the right. But it's a decent chance for an albatross. Tough shot, but it's there to make. Hole 4 is a par 4, and I do not like this hole with a headwind. There are a couple of options if you try to lay up, either short or in this area, and try to do a rough bump right up in the rough right before the green. But that's a tough landing spot. I'm not trying that shot. I'm playing this hole kind of the way I play golf. I'm hitting it hard and hoping something good happens. So what I'm going to do is hit an apocalypse with full top spin, with right as much as possible. I'm going to do a full overpower and curl it a little bit to the right. For my second shot, I'm taking all my backspin clubs. So Tsunami, Machete, taking the Thorn. I've got real close to rolling up to that island. I've been just short of it. So usually what I'm doing is the Machete on the second shot. If you end up even a little bit short of that, I'm having the Tsunami so I can do the same thing, full backspin, land on the green, and try to back it up into the cup. If I happen to roll up into that, I'm going to use the Thorn, full backspin, and try to back it up into the cup. So we line this up, full top spin, right as much as we can. Just 10% extra for elevation. We adjust this for the wind. So even adjusting for the wind, I'm going into power. So, and here I'm using about a half a ball, probably a little bit more curl. Wouldn't hurt, full overpower. So, landing in this region. And I've got this ball to roll out even a little bit further than this. I've got extremely close to that last spot, but I haven't got there yet. So I've thought about using a power 4 ball on Saturday. So I may be able to reach that spot with a power 4 ball. But if I'm not, I'm in the rough here. I'm using the Machete, full backspin, putting as much to the left as I can. And you do want to offset this. I've been coming up just a little bit short. So I did add plus 10% on my future shots on this second shot. So when I adjust this, coming in just a little bit light on the adjustment. So again, adding plus 10% and hit a great ball. But this is going to go up. I've made the shot in the past. So you can see how far that rolled back down. With a little bit further back, it won't roll quite as much. All right, hole 5 is a par 3. And this one we're going to play with a sniper and a kingmaker. We're going to land in this area. We're going to put full left spin and about 0.2 bars of top spin on it. So just a click of top spin. And when we curl this to the left, we're going to go about halfway into the guide that's around the ball. So there is a decent funnel here, and I have had this thing roll out and been extremely close when I've missed, but I have made this hole-in-one a few times. So what I don't like about this setup is how much offset you have to have. So you can see that full left with just a little bit of top spin. We're going about 2 rings away from the rough, and we're going to go about 2.5 or 3 grids to the left. Adjusting this plus 25% for elevation. We are at full club on the sniper. So when we pull this over, we're about halfway into the grid with the curl to the left. Hit a perfect ball, and it's hard to say a funnel because you're offsetting so much, but that ball rolls out very true, right at the cup. All right, hole 6 is a long par 5. I'm going to use an Apocalypse and a Kingmaker, and I play this a little bit different than most people play. So when you look at this, what you want is that ball to bounce here. You want it to go left and then back to the right. So creating that Z pattern. So what I'm doing is putting about 6.5 bars of top spin, 4 bars to the right, but then I'm using about 3/4 of a ball curl to the left. So again, when it bounces, the curl, it's going to pull it to the left, and then that right spin, it's going to roll back out to the right. Playing this plus 10% downhill. And then the second shot, you want either Cataclysm or Big Dog, and we're going to do full top spin, about 3 to 4 to the right, just kind of depending on the angle of our shot. And we want the second bounce to be in the rough with that ball to roll out. And whenever I adjust this for the wind, I'm going to put quite a bit of extra power on it, just because that ball, that second bounce is going uphill. The first bounce is not, so we're not playing with elevation, but the second bounce is uphill. So a little bit of extra power will push that ball through the rough better. All right, and they've kind of changed this up. There's kind of a bowl area where this ball lands. You'll see that adjustment, 6.5 to the top, 4 to the right. And you can see as I move that around, the ball guide's not changing much. So you got a big landing spot there. Again, plus 10% for elevation. And then when we line this up, 3/4 means I want about 3/4 of the ball into the ball guide for the curl to the left. And when I adjusted, I went into power a little bit, so I added just a little bit of overpower to this shot. And it gets down here past the corner, but now the spin out is coming back to the right, so it gets a little bit centered up. Could add another bar of top spin to that, but that gets a little bit risky because I don't want it to roll too far. And then the second shot, if you've got Cataclysm 5, I would probably go with the Big Dog just to get that extra top spin. Cataclysm 6 or higher, I'm going to go with that. So you'll notice that I pull that back from maximum distance just so I don't have to go too far into power with this shot. So I'm adjusting that, no extra for elevation. But when I pull this back, I am going to go just a little bit down into power, just so that second bounce will roll out through the green. So hit that perfect. The bounce catches the rough, rolls through. Very nice. All right, hole 7 is a par 4, and this one we're playing plus 20% downhill, but the wind is straight tailwind. So what I'm going to do is use an Apocalypse and a Berserker, and I'm going to put about 3 bars of right spin on it, and then I'm going to put 5 to 7 bars of top spin depending on the wind. So with the Berserker, if I get like a 9 something wind, I'm going to use about 7 bars of top spin. But if I get up over 11 miles per hour wind, Then I'm going to back off and go down to about 5 bars of topspin. So when I line this ball up, I want it to land in this area over here. So when I come in, it's going to come into this right side. And if it hits that sand or the rough, I want the right spin on it so it'll catch that and roll back out to the right. But I want it to bounce in there and then roll out. If I put too much topspin, second bounce is going to go over the rough and sand, and we're going to go all the way across the green. So that's kind of the way I'm setting that up. I'm going to use just a little bit of curl to the left. And this ball, even with the 20% over adjustment, I don't know that that's enough when you're looking at full overpower, because I'm looking at this ball and it looks like it's going to land in this area, but that's a real steep downhill slope. That ball is going to carry further than you think. So when you're lining this up, if it looks like the ball's going to land right here, it's going to land a little bit further up, almost the center of that fairway. All right, so we set this shot up. We've got 10.9. So I can tell what that was, about 5.5 bars of topspin on this shot, 3 bars to the right. And when I look at that distance, it looks like it's going to almost nick the rough short. But when you watch this ball come in and land, we're well past the rough, center 3/4 way down the fairway. So it catches the sand and rolls right out nicely. So that just leaves us with a little wedge shot, and we are straight downhill with this. So roll this out. And kind of just play with the ball guide and make sure there's nothing wonky about it, but there's not. If you get too far away from that green, it is kind of an uphill slope and can leave the ball short. But where I was at, no problem. Just right into the hole. Hole 8 is our last par 3. This one we're playing plus 30% elevation with the mid club on the sniper, playing with the Kingmaker. We're going to set this up full right with 1 backspin. And when we're looking at the ball guide, we want the third bounce to be just on the green. So we're going to bounce it up in this area. Second bounce is going to be on this fairway. And then the third bounce just right past the fringe. And this is a hole that I've got a hole-in-one on this one before, but I'm playing this a little bit safer. I don't want to go in the sand and end up with a par. So with this hole, I am very happy getting a birdie. All right, so we're setting this up full right, just a little bit more than a bar of backspin there, but you'll see the way that's coming in. That third bounce is just right there on the green. Again, mid club, plus 30% for elevation. Don't want any curl on this one. The wind is going to kick that hard to the right. Good bounce, stays out of the sand. And again, I went just a little over 1 backspin. 1 backspin will get you fairly close on that shot. And our final hole is a par 5. This one we're going to play with the Apocalypse and a Kingmaker. I'm going to use the full topspin right as much as possible and full curl to the right. So we're going to land on this part and then roll out to this island. Now with Apocalypse 7, I'm going to be able to roll out here to the shadow. That doesn't matter. I'll be around mid-club with my sniper on the second shot. So if you're playing a lower level Apocalypse, and I would use the Apocalypse because you need it for the curl, but if you roll out short, that's not going to be a problem at all. If you end up in the center or even the left side, what you're going to need to do is put a little bit more left spin on your second shot because we want it to land in this area and try to catch. There's a little funnel. It's a crappy funnel because you got to offset the ball guide short, but you can watch as you move back and forth the ball guide. The second bounce doesn't move, and that's what we're looking for to get that lined up at the pin. All right, so we set this up, full top spin, right as much as possible. And I'm going to set that about 2 rings from that rough. We're adjusting plus 10% for elevation. Again, don't really need any overpower, just full curl to the right. We hit a perfect ball. And you'll see again with the Apocalypse 7, I'm going to roll all the way down here to the shadow. But if you're short of that, it's not a problem. It's just slightly different adjustment on your second shot. So when we set up the second shot, and again, I'm going to be close to mid on this sniper shot. Going to put about 4 to the left and about 3 backspin for where I'm at. What we want to find is where we move that ball guide left and right, and it doesn't change much. So we got that spot. We want that pretty well aimed straight at the pin. Maybe just a little bit on the right side to offset for the wind, but we are playing plus 10% for elevation on that adjustment. And even with a great ball, thanks to the funnel, this ball is going to come right into the cup. So it's always good to get an albatross. All right, well, that's my playthrough for the Origin Links 9-hole cup. Be sure to tune in next week as we go into our spring major. So another big tournament that I'm looking forward to. So again, this was the expert level, and if you enjoyed the videos, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Thank you, everybody. Wish you lots of good luck and bring home those banners.